Welcome to Jewish Boy Calls His Mother. I'm your host, Sadia, and this is my mother, Ima. Hey, Ima.
Hello.
All right, I just want to pre-apologize to our listeners. My mother has a cough, so she might be coughing midway through, but she's really determined and passionate about this and wants to make sure that her listeners get to have a nice, good taste of, um, I guess, podcast bliss with Jewish Boy Calls His Mother. Um,
Yes, love that. I don't know what it is. I came up north, man, and got sick.
I don't know.
Um, I was talking to one of your sister's neighbors today here in Baltimore, and she told me they moved here from California a couple of years ago. She says in California they never had any real health issues. They come here to Baltimore, and they're wheezing. They've got a touch of asthma. They keep getting colds.
I don't know. You got a body got to get used to it again.
What is it about the city?
I don't know. So this week's topic is called Gam To Latova. In English, it translates to "This too is good." It's about when something that's not revealed good happening to you. You might, have lost a job, lost a relationship, um, maybe became late to work, and then you realize at the end that it was really good, that it was a positive outcome because of this hidden good outcome. So we're going to talk about our stories and our relationships to Gam Taiva and what we can learn from it. So Ima, you said that you had a story about when you were teaching in Baltimore City.
Yes. What happened was one morning I was driving and I was late. And there was this black lady who occasionally, when I was driving along the street, every now and then when she saw me, would flag me down and ask me to give her a ride to her job. So this particular morning, even though I was late, she flagged me down and I thought, oh, I said, how can I can't, ignore this poor woman. So, I did pull to the side and I drove her to her job. And then as I was driving along the route to get to my work, there was a traffic accident that had happened about, I don't know how many minutes ahead of me, but had I been on time, I probably, who knows, would have crashed right into the accident or something.
Wow.
So I
Yeah,
missed an accident.
I have a story about actually how I got this job right now. I'm really happy with this job. It's a great job, a great learning experience. But how I got it was that it was during COVID and everybody was out of work. And I had this headhunter come and offer me this really nice position for this, basically government contracted, company. They were very interested in me. And I got a few other offers to work in a few other offices that were, decent offices that I probably would have enjoyed in, but I turned them down because I was waiting for the official, go ahead that I would get on this position. And unfortunately, the headhunters messed something up or upset the company that they're supposed to work for, and all of my job opportunities just fell through. And the only job opportunity I had was this small little company that I found on Craigslist. And if it wasn't for me turning down these other job positions and having the main job opportunity, that I wasn't able to get a hold of, I would never have even thought of working for this place. And now that I'm working for it, I'm really enjoying it, having a great time.
Oh,
So
Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. Thank God, I'm glad it turned out okay. We were talking, there was a funny story though, that I don't know, I don't think it's related, I don't know, but in a certain way maybe, that my father, had his own company. He sold uh, kosher killed chickens and fruits and vegetables. In those days, they were called hucksters. And there was one day we were eating dinner. I think I was 12 years old. I didn't pick up on what was happening at the time because I was only 12 years old. In those days, 12-year-olds were innocent. But here's what happened. My father says to my mother, you know what I like about you? You get up, you get yourself dressed, and you get yourself going in the day. He says, there was this one customer of mine today who it's 12:30 in the afternoon. And she opens the door and she's still in her nightgown. 12:30, she's still in her nightgown. And she asked me if I would take the order. It was a big box. And he said, I brought and bring it. And I brought it and I put it on the table. So then she asked me, would I mind putting everything away in the refrigerator for her? Okay, he figured, it's a heavy box. I'll put it away in the refrigerator for her. So I put it away in the refrigerator for her. Then she says to me, would I mind coming upstairs and looking at her television set in her bedroom? Something about it is broken. He said to her, I'm sorry, Mrs. Such and such. I don't know anything about TVs. You're going to have to call a TV repairman. And I just left. And then my father says, imagine the nerve of that woman. What does she think I am, a TV repairman? And my mother cracked into total hysterics of laughter, threw her arms around my father, gave him a big kiss, and told her how much she loved him. And he goes, huh?
I love it. I think that's the whole point of Zadie in his life. He was such a space cadet that with his ADD, it just worked out for him.
Gam To Is Good.
Gam To Is Good.
But there's something else about Zadie too. When you're a good, honest person, sometimes you don't imagine that other people could be evil or have devious plans.
Yeah.
And that's what he was. He was a good, honest person. I could never imagine someone else having, I guess, a devious plan.
I could see that. I get like that sometimes too, where I would just innocently think someone's doing something. A lot of times it has to do with if someone's too busy or someone doesn't pay attention to me, I always figure oh, whatever, they're too busy. They're not sure, whatever. And they're just doing their own thing. And other people would be like, well, didn't you see that they were purposely ignoring you? I'm like, no, I didn't think they were trying to purposely ignore me. I thought they were just trying to go about their life. And if they don't say anything, then whatever. Then I figure maybe because I'm very straightforward and very upfront that I kind of expect it from other people that if they try to do that weird passive aggressive thing, I just don't get it. I just don't understand.
I mean, you're talking about Gamzalatova jobs. There was that horrible job I had at that grocery, which is no longer around. Pantry Pride.
Oh, don't know that place.
That was they're no longer in existence, and it was really horrible. They were putting me on very, very late hours behind a deli counter by myself, and with no help. And so finally, it was a combination of, a combination of fired, quit. I'm quitting. Well, we're firing you, you might say. And then after that, the problem was when you're in college, you need time to study. And the perfect job for any college student is a job where they can study, like say babysitting, for example. You put the kids to bed, now you can study. A gallery monitor. You're just sitting there studying and just making sure that nobody walks off with the goods. It was shortly after that Towson opened its Asian Art Center. And my piano teacher was one of the people who was placed in charge of it. And of course, he offered the job to me. And it was the perfect job. It was an evening job, very quiet, just there in the gallery. And I was able to sit there and study. People are coming in and walking around, and I look up occasionally and look around, make sure that no one seems to be lifting anything.
Yeah, I had something similar to that. Not I was working for the JCC, and they wanted me to walk around and socialize with people and clean up the machines. And I had no problem doing that. It's just that there were certain times where I'm like, if I don't have this job, which I need for money, I won't have time to study, which I need for college, which I need for work in the long run. So I had moments where I was studying while I was working, and it didn't sit very well with I'd say the owner of the boss, and they didn't like it. And that's why eventually I left to focus on going and living in New York. But when I came back, they didn't want to hire me because they saw that I was I was reading while I was on the job, so they didn't let it. And that's
It's a it's a balance. You know what it is? A lot of college, it's a very typical conflict that a lot of college students have. You know,
yeah.
work, study. If I don't work, on the one hand, I need the job. On the other hand, I've got to study so I can, pass my courses and get on to the real career that I really do want.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think I was 23. I was trying to move out of the house and trying to like live on my own while going to school. And like being in a relationship, living on your own, going to school, that is just a lot to handle. Um, I literally I struggled where it's like I could barely pay rent, let alone food, because I was working for Catering by Alpha, where on the weekends, where I was only making like pennies to the dollar, and like I had school throughout the entire week that I had to get stuff done, and then of course my relationship, so I had to keep that going, and I had to make sure that I was able to, I guess, pay attention to that, because it kind of reminds me of, like, I remember this one story, this like allegory. This some rich businessman said that like life is about juggling, and when you're juggling some balls that are rubber and some balls are glass, and some balls you can drop them and they'll bounce right back. It's no big deal. But some balls, if you drop them, they shatter or break, or they have a little bit of scratches on them. And no matter how much you pick them up and continue juggling, there still will be scratches on them. And you got to be
Boy,
really careful with what you're willing to drop, because it's going to bounce back, and what
uh-huh.
you shouldn't drop, because if you do, no matter what you do, it's not going to come back the way it was.
That is scary. That is kind of scary, man, when you think about that. There was one teacher in our high school who used to introduce himself to the class by saying, "My class is like life. If you fail my class, you're probably going to fail life."
Oh my God.
That's like, oh my God, talk about pressure.
What class was this?
I think it was a sociology class or a psychology class.
Well, I guess,
Great
I mean,
psychology.
so really, really easy courses. Like, yeah, if you fail this, I don't know how else to explain it to you.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish maybe like in some other lifetime I would have become a psychiatrist or psychologist. I find it very fascinating.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, Jewish studies.
Jewish studies, exactly, exactly. Well, I was telling you
Why
about
is it
that.
a yeah? What?
I was telling you yesterday about that podcast I was listening to. It was
Oh
called
yeah.
The Shrink Next Door. The Shrink Next Door. It's about this psychiatrist who basically involves himself into someone's life and eventually takes them over and controls them and uses them and manipulates them. It's very scary, but like it was almost comical the way they presented it. But yeah, I don't know. I think like if I would choose a different major, a different career path, I think I'd probably do something like that. I just there's some fascination I have towards it.
Well, there was once at your sister's Vort, almost every other person I met there was going into psychology. And I finally mentioned it to somebody. I said, who was doing this. When I finally met the 10th person who told me she was going into psychology, I said, I have met so many people going to psychology. I said, is this really going to be a viable profession by the time you are all finished? Because so many people are going to be in it. She says to me, don't worry. There are enough crazy people in this world to keep us all in business.
If you, I mean, your major was music and you switched to teaching, but if you
Well, no, my music was music education.
music
So it was,
education.
yes, it was both. Yeah.
So if you had a chance to like go back to being when you were like, I would say your 70-year-old brain gets shoved into an 18-year-old, you know, body, what would you do differently?
Well, the opportunities today are very, very different. I mean, now I've spoken to people that are going into music, and the music world has changed tremendously. It's no longer just playing an instrument, just singing, just performing. It's now production and recording and marketing. And it's even like, say, uh,
Hello?
Told me this one girl told me what does she do? She actually, she's in music production where she actually makes the engagement, go finds the setting, finds the concert hall, does the entire setup, and that was part of her music education. So things are quite different. I quite honestly, I was thinking the other day, if like we say about our lives, if we had it to do it all over again, what would we do differently? Quite honestly, nothing. It was what it was.
Yeah, but I'm saying, what if you? But I mean, like,
probably do the same thing all over again.
Yeah, really.
I love children. I love music. And like I said, probably would have done the same thing all over again.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I would say, like, with the knowledge I have now, I'd probably do the same thing, but this time better. If that makes any sense. I think I would slow down more. I wouldn't try to go ahead and speed things up so much. I think I was in a real big hurry when I was younger, like a real major hurry. Like I was having to do everything and get it done yesterday kind of situation. And looking back, I'm like, if only I just took my time and I didn't go ahead and rush things.
I think, quite honestly, the experience I had for those 4 years living in New York was a very good experience. I think everybody in this country at one time or another should experience living in New York. You can live in New York. You can live anywhere.
Yep.
And in fact, I was talking to Menachem. Menachem was driving, or your brother Menachem lives in New York, of course, and he was driving around as he was talking to me, trying to find a parking place in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn's not that bad. Brooklyn's not that bad.
20 minutes. Anybody who drives to Brooklyn spends at least 20 minutes looking for a parking space. And I told him the first year I lived in New York, had my car, I chalked up $300 worth of parking tickets.
Wow.
Now, I didn't know they had reciprocity with Maryland.
Oh,
I get a letter from my mother. We just received a bill for $300 for the parking tickets that you just chalked up in New York. If you are so intent on supporting the New York Police Department, you can send some support money to us. Well, I went to court, and Baruch Hashem got it busted down to $150. $150 is not $300.
Yeah.
But after that first year, it was actually the second year. The second year of living in New York, continuing. I mean, I think I must have lived down at that courthouse, constantly fighting parking tickets. I finally said, forget it. I left my car in Baltimore, and New York public transportation is so good that you really don't need a car. A car in New York is a liability.
Yeah. Wow. I'm doing the calculations. You had to pay $577 in tickets today. Jeez Louise. Wow. Yeah, I remember I got my first parking ticket. I got my first speeding ticket. I was driving from Newark Airport with my friend Zach, and I was speeding. I didn't realize I was speeding. I was just trying to go with the flow of traffic, and everyone was going super fast. So I'm like just driving, whatever, just sitting there. All of a sudden, whoop, whoop, I get pulled over. And this is my first time. So you're supposed to pull over to the right. I pulled over to the left. The cop comes out. He says, why'd you pull over to the left? I'm like, this is my first time getting a speeding ticket. I have no idea what you want from me. I don't know what you want. And he's like, do you know how fast you were going? I'm like, to be honest, I wasn't looking at my speedometer. I was just trying to go with the flow of traffic. He's like, you were going 90 miles an hour. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. And I think it was a $210 ticket that I had to work off of. That's what
with that money, you could have gotten a ticket to the Indianapolis Speedway for the
Indy
Indianapolis 500. Yeah.
A ticket to see fast cars, not drive fast cars. There's a difference.
So Nusa, I think what did you do?
I had to pay it. I think Tati paid it first, and I paid Tati. I think I worked for Yafa and just paid it off that way.
Sorry.
I was going to say, so what happened was that they said you could fight it, but you don't have to go to the courthouse. You can send a letter. And I sent a letter, and I remember Tati helped me with the letter. And instead of saying I was going 90 miles an hour, I wanted to sound more sophisticated. So I said accelerating at 90 miles an hour.
Oh, no.
So they were like, sorry, buddy. First ticket, first time offense. You're out of here. $210.
Oh,
Like,
gosh. I was surprised it was that expensive because a lot of times, if you don't fight the police, like you pull the side and right away they don't have to chase you. A lot of times they'll reduce the ticket. They'll be very nice about it.
This was my first offense. That's why it's like I was a scared little boy that was like 17 years old, just got his license.
Yeah,
So
but I'm surprised that the policeman didn't like lower the ticket because you were cooperative.
No, I mean it helped me a few times. I've gotten warnings and whatnot, but no, I think he was just trying. They were trying to scare me because it was my first time. I like it didn't matter. You know.
Oh my gosh.
But, yeah. Oh well.
Oh my gosh. I remember the time about the I think we had that one time about the policeman that pulled me to the side because my license didn't match what they had on record.
Yeah.
The tag
What do you
didn't
mean?
match. Okay, what happened was I was this policeman pulls me on the side. He was very nice, and he said, your the tag on your car does not match the type of car that we have on record. And he says, I'm very sorry to pull you to the side. He says, but I said, I understand you're just doing your job. And I said to him, do I look like a car thief to you?
Oh God, what did he say?
And he laughed. And he said, I said to him, then I explained that we had just bought this car 2 weeks ago. And he says, well, what was your original car? And I told him the type of car that our original car was. And he looked up there. He says, oh, okay, that makes sense. He says, evidently they did not feed the new information into the computer yet.
Oh yeah.
Didn't process new information.
Everything takes time.
Yeah. He was very sweet, very nice, very polite, apologized. Oh.
Okay. All right. Well, that's our episode. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Emma, for joining me. Sorry about your cough.
Thank you.
I love you, and I love the listeners, guys. Love the comments I see on Facebook. Everything. We both really appreciate it, and really thank you for the refuah shleimus for my mother.
So thank you I want to thank everybody for the refuah shleimus. That's really sweet of you. Thank you so much. And the other thing about these podcasts is that it's like after the podcast, like a couple of days later, I think of something. I go, oh shucks, I should have mentioned that.
Well, that's why what we could do is you can give me a call and we could record and we could do everything like that. And then what we could is I could just jot it down and then we could remind it for next episode.
Okay.
Okay,
sweetheart. Love you. Have a good
Love you
Shabbos.
too. Have a good Shabbos.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to Jewish Boy Calls His Mother. Please like and share and find us on Facebook at Jewish Boy Calls His Mother Podcast. We are looking forward to hearing from you.